American-supplied armor, now riding under Taliban colors. The spoils of victory being paraded by the new masters of Kandahar.
The Biden administration finally is going to take the border seriously, which is a huge relief. Unfortunately, it's not the U.S.-Mexico border. It is the border of Afghanistan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. But the Biden administration is deciding to take that seriously, so we'll talk about that. Also, the Texas abortion law, more things coming out about that. The left has lost their mind insanely, which is not a surprise to anyone. Also, Australia has locked down like crazy. The Antifa teacher has spoken out. We've got that clip for you. And I have a really funny Larry Elder story that I want to try and get on at the end of the show. It's a Friday. Levity is abounding. Even though things are serious in the world, I do want to have some sort of fun. It is a Friday, so stick around for that Larry Elder story. I think it's pretty entertaining and kind of funny. I found video footage of the actual event that I wanted to talk about, so that's going to be really fun. Anyways, all of that and more coming up on this episode of the Jobob Show. Thanks so much for tuning in. It starts right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Live from a dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Jobob Show. Today is September 3rd, Friday. Anything can happen on the weekend. It's a weekend full of possibilities. You could find the man or woman that you're going to spend the rest of your life with this weekend. You never know. Or you could get dumped in the middle of the street in the rain somewhere in New York City because it's been raining there. All I'm saying is who knows what's going to happen this weekend. Just full of possibilities. Anything can happen. But it is Friday. We're going into a long weekend, Labor Day weekend. I want to tell you about, sorry, I don't want to be super harsh on a Friday. Everybody's thinking about the weekend. Having said that, Joe Biden is doing things that are ridiculous yet again. So we have to talk about it. Also want to talk about Jen Psaki yesterday, White House press secretary, being asked about the abortion law in Texas and how that might conflict with Joe Biden's very devout Catholic faith. Also, the Antifa teacher in Sacramento facing some huge backlash, which is great. We've got some clips of him making a plea to his fellow teachers and friends, the few that he may have. Australia's lockdown is nuts, and want to talk about that a little bit. Also a funny clip from there. And I do have a hilarious Larry Elder story. If you stick around to the end of it, or even just come back and watch it later. You know, you don't have to watch it live. Just watch the end of the Larry Elder clip. Larry and I had a hilarious situation that we were in with a few other people, and actually found video footage of it. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen a political person do. Anyways, I'll tell that story a little bit later on, so stay tuned or come back and watch it. Anything that happens throughout this, leave your comments in the comment section. We'll try and get to them, see what we can do in answering some of those questions. Maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you want to fight me on something. That's totally fine. I welcome dissent. Leave them in the comment section below. So, want to get into the first story of the day. This is coming out of Afghanistan. Joe Biden is working with countries bordering Afghanistan because they're worried, as they should be. The Taliban has pretty much full control of all of Afghanistan now, and countries bordering Afghanistan should be very concerned. This from Fox News. The U.S. Embassy in Dushanbe, I think I'm pronouncing that right, that's the Tajikistan capital, or at least where the U.S. Embassy is, has launched a project to construct new facilities for a border service detachment along the Tajik, Afghan, Uzbek border, allowing Tajikistan border troops to deploy more quickly in response to threats in the region, the embassy said in a press release on Wednesday. Our ambassador said the United States and Tajikistan enjoy strong security cooperation, and this border detachment project is just another example of our shared commitment to security and sovereignty of Tajikistan and Central Asia. Awesome. We are defending a border. Unfortunately, it's not our border. It is the border between Tajikistan, country that most people haven't heard of, and Afghanistan. We are building border facilities so their border patrol can deploy faster. Go figure. Joe Biden gives precedent to a Middle Eastern country situation border over the United States southern border, which is being overrun with people. I don't know if you want to hear the repeat of the statistics. 150 to 175,000 illegal immigrants crossing every single month. We're at the highest illegal border crossing in the United States in the last several decades. But nothing's being done about it. The Supreme Court is finally taking some action, telling the administration, you have to enforce the law. Joe Biden and his administration have been saying, no, we don't, which is stupid and dangerous, honestly. But we are building border facilities in Tajikistan. With record-setting pace of nearly 1 million encounters so far at the southern border, it's heartening to see the Biden administration finally getting serious about border security. It's just too bad it's in another country, a senior border official told Fox News. A little bit of levity in the situation, but again, the border crisis in the United States is insane. 1 million illegal border crossings. If you don't follow, there's a guy named Bill Malugin, used to be a Fox LA guy, now is working for Big Fox. He's covering the border better than anybody I've seen. If I were able to buy stock in a reporter's career, his is going skyward because he's on the border every single day, just with his phone, just filming people just walking across. We have no control over our southern border, yet the Biden administration thinks that the Tajikistan border with Afghanistan takes priority because we're going to build facilities over there. Awesome. Thanks, Grandpa Joe. On top of that, if you see this video that we're playing, this is Taliban parading through the streets on American vehicles with their flags, dressed in our uniforms. This sucks to watch, honestly. Again, I don't want to get too harsh on a Friday, but this is the Taliban with all of our equipment, millions upon millions of dollars of American equipment, parading through the streets, doing whatever they want because they now rule the country. Look at this. Look at these guys. Full-blown American uniforms. All of our military equipment just in the hands of the Taliban now. Absolutely insane. And the Biden administration isn't doing anything about our own border. And also, trying to segue this nicely, I don't know if you know anything about the totalitarian system that the Taliban run under, but people here in the United States also think that that's a good idea. If you remember, we have a communist teacher in California that was open, out and proud about giving extra credit to students who went to Antifa rallies. Let's hear this from hopefully soon to be former teacher Gabriel Geip.
Days turn them into revolutionaries.
How do you do that? How do you
look at them?
He said he has 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries. Let's watch some more of this guy. New developments have happened. We'll kind of fill you in on this, but just as a recap, let's listen to this total Yahoo.
Sacramento organization that is under the banner of Antifa is very loosely organized, right? So that, yeah, when there is like right-wing rallies and stuff, then we'll create an opposition to that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Where would he go to connect to some of these organizations?
I post a calendar every week,
awesome.
and then and I do it for extra credit, so they get points for doing it. So that encourages them to do it. And I've had students show up for protests, community events, tabling, food distribution, all sorts of things. When they go, they take pictures, they write up a reflection. That's their extra credit.
This Yahoo has a calendar in his classroom of events that Antifa is going to show up and protest. We all know the idea of protest is just cause havoc and try and table if you're not familiar with the term that they use, they table situations where they cause so much of a ruckus, they just nobody can function. The event can't continue because there's too much of a problem with Antifa. And this guy posts a calendar in his classroom in a publicly funded high school in California for people to go and see, not go and see, get extra credit in his class. This guy's a total nut job. This comment from Eric came in. I thought Antifa was a fake organization. Biden said so during the campaign. That's right. During one of the debates, Joe Biden said, oh, Antifa's not real. Antifa's not a real thing. Okay, we're looking at one. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but it seems like it's real. There's a guy sitting here saying he is in Antifa. He has an Antifa flag in his high school classroom. But, maybe Joe Biden's right. Maybe it is totally fake, and that's, just completely not real. This guy's indoctrinating kids in his high school. He said he also thinks that people should take up arms against the government. In extreme circumstances, I don't necessarily disagree. If the government would turn into a complete totalitarian system, which this guy thinks is already there, we're light years away from that happening, probably, hopefully. But this guy's talking about taking up arms against local police officers and any military officials that he sees walking around. This guy's nuts. The whole taking up arms thing gets interesting as we will come back to another clip from this brilliant gentleman. I say that sarcastically, obviously. The school board, however, had a lot of people show up to a meeting that they had, I believe, on Wednesday. And the school board, fortunately, is now taking steps to fire Mr. Gripe. Now, this is not a cancel culture thing. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, well, it's just a difference of opinions. Nah, that's not what this is. And here's why. California Education Code says no teacher giving instruction in any school or on any property belonging to any agency included in the public school system shall advocate or teach communism. No teacher giving instruction shall advocate or teach communism with the intent to indoctrinate or indoctrinate any pupil with a preference for communism. So the California Education Code is why this guy is getting fired and why he should be. He broke the law, honestly. There's probably some sort of criminal charges. So it's not a cancel culture thing. This guy is directly in violation of California Education Code and also probably child endangerment. This guy posts this teaches AP government. So you can take that as a junior. People are 16, 17 years old, not adults yet. He posts a calendar of events that you can show up to and get extra credit. First of all, this guy teaches government? What in the world is going on in that guy's government class? There's a couple people at the school board meeting that said, there's been complaints about this guy constantly. I don't know why he's been able to do what he's been able to do. A lot of the parents at that school board meeting were also saying, somebody enabled this. Somebody allowed him to say the things that he's saying. We need to get them out too. And I can't help but agree with them. Here's a clip from Gabriel Gripe's Twitter feed that I thought was kind of interesting. Here's him pleading for his job.
Thank you to every past student and colleague and friend who's reaching out right now in support of what is happening. My personal safety and security is obviously my top concern at this moment, but also they are coming for my job and what I love doing in the classroom. And they are going to run this campaign and get public pressure behind them. And it is very likely that the district will cave in regards to this. And I'm hopeful that they don't. And all support at this moment is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
First things first, the district isn't going to cave. The words that he's using there are not at all applicable to the situation that he's in. Somebody caving would be an unfair treatment of someone else, and the authority figure then caves to the pressure of the outside sources. No, what he did was break the law. It's not caving for the school board to remove him from his job. That would be enforcing the rules, which everybody agrees that we should do. Also, he's talking about being worried for his own personal safety. And look, this is not fire him from his job because he broke the law, but none of you loons out there, and I don't think anybody's watching this show would have anything to do with that, but I know a lot of you are in California. Nobody go to this guy's house. That's insane. Don't do that. Get him out of his job. Make sure he can't teach in California again, but nobody go hurt this guy. That's not something that we should do, and I think you're a lunatic if you think that that's an apt decision. However, again, I'm not advocating for anything. I'm just saying it's interesting that this guy thinks you should take up arms against the police officer and then says, please don't take up arms against me. Any sort of irony going on there? Yeah, it seems like it. I don't know. Just thought that was interesting from this communist teacher in California. Other news of the day, the whole Texas abortion law thing. This is really interesting. I dug into this yesterday a little bit. Again, I'm not an attorney, but Jen Psaki got asked an interesting question. We'll add it. Actually, let me get through this first because I think this is interesting and just a way of how to view what's going on here. Jen Psaki was asked about Joe Biden's contradicting Catholic faith and abortion, which is fair, I guess, a little bit. Maybe not to be asked to the White House press. Well, we'll play that clip in a second. I did read into the Texas law and the whole SCOTUS situation, voting 5-4 to not do anything about it. Dug a little bit deep into it, and the things that I found out is that literally everybody is wrong. I'll say that again. Everybody is wrong when talking about this situation for the most part. Unless you're a, legal commentator on the most fair news program in the world, probably Brett Baer's show. Maybe he had somebody on that was talking fairly about it. But it appears that everybody is wrong. Here's why. The Texas law is admittedly weird. After looking into it, it's odd. And again, that's not to say that I disagree with the idea of it, but the whole legality of it is just weird. It's on some pretty odd legal footing, admittedly. This is, again, whether or not you agree with the whole abortion versus not. Again, I have my own personal opinions. I'm looking at this from a legal standpoint, from a cultural standpoint. Again, maybe you agree with it, maybe you don't, but it is weird legal footing. Having said that, it's going to get looked at further down the road because what didn't happen is SCOTUS upholding unconstitutional laws in Texas. That's not what happened at all. I've seen so many people on Instagram posting about how absurd it is that the Supreme Court upheld this completely unconstitutional law. Yeah, that's not what happened at all either. I would say that your lefty types are a little bit more outraged and a little bit more prone to do that sort of thing. But they're just as wrong as the people who think this is totally legal and totally just because, again, admittedly, this is a weird law and weird legal footing. It's kind of got to get sorted out. SCOTUS didn't uphold the constitutionality of the law, which is what a lot of people on the internet are saying. That's just not true. The last couple of days, people have had their hair on fire about this. The Supreme Court is killing the rights of women. How come they can't advocate for women's health care? That's just not happening. That's just not true. SCOTUS basically said the attorneys' arguments were just not up to par. You guys didn't present good enough arguments for us to really do anything about this. So we're just going to decide to do nothing for now. Bring us more arguments and we'll reconsider. That's basically what the Supreme Court said. The Supreme Court said that what you're saying doesn't make any sense regarding this particular law. So we're going to vote to not do anything right now. And down the road, bring us back some better arguments from a legal standpoint with, again, this admittedly odd legal footing in Texas. And we'll take a look. This is not over. This is so not over in terms of how it's going to play out in the Supreme Court. But again, the hair on fire, overwhelming outrageousness coming from your lefty types all over Instagram. I'm so tired of scrolling through people's Instagram feeds and just seeing wrong things. Again, not difference of opinions. I don't care about difference of opinions. But if you say something that's just not accurate, it's just so disheartening. But yeah, this is not over, and the Supreme Court is going to take a look at this further as it continues, again, with some weird legal footing with this Texas law. But I want to get to the Jen Psaki clip. She got asked a question, and I'll play it. The question is in this clip about Joe Biden's stance on abortion. How can he support abortion when he's a Roman Catholic? Look, this is a gotcha question, and I don't really like gotcha questions. However, there is something funny that came out of it at the end. So let's play this clip from Jen Psaki.
Why does the president support abortion when his own Catholic faith teaches abortion is morally wrong?
Well, he believes that it's a woman's right, it's a woman's body, and it's her choice.
Why does the president, who does he believe then should look out for the unborn child?
He believes that it's up to a woman to make those decisions, and up to a woman to make those decisions with her doctor. I know you've never faced those choices, nor have you ever been pregnant, but for women out there who have faced those choices, this is an incredibly difficult thing. The president believes their rights should be respected. Go ahead.
Did she just assume that that person wasn't a birthing person that chest feeds? How dare her? That was the funny part about this. Look, this is a gotcha question. Of course, it's a fair point, but it's a gotcha question at a White House press briefing. Saying, why does the president, who claims to be a Roman Catholic, and I believe that he is, he's been a pretty devout Roman Catholic his entire life, why does the president, who's a Roman Catholic, go directly against the people of his faith and say that abortion should be legal? It's a gotcha question. Not really a big fan of gotcha questions. But then Jen Psaki says, well, see, you've never been pregnant. Did you just assume his gender? Their gender? Whoops. You don't know that that reporter is not a birthing person that chest feeds? How dare you, Jen Psaki? How dare you? Anyways, that was funny coming out of the White House. What's not funny is what's happening in Australia. But before we talk about what's going on in Australia, I got to tell you about capitalist propaganda. Capitalist propaganda is the best way to fight off exactly what's happening in Australia. Only it's up to you to help spread capitalist propaganda to defeat the empire. Capitalist Propaganda's got a buy. This is the shirt I'm wearing today. I love this shirt. Capitalist Propaganda shirt. You should be able to go to my Instagram feed and buy this now, starting today. We've struck a deal over there. So you should be able to buy this anywhere you want. Capitalism. Go ahead, use your iPhone to tweet about how much you hate me. You're welcome. Love capitalism, and capitalism rocks. Head on over to capitalistpropaganda.us. Get all of the gear that you need to tell your friends their socialist ideas totally suck at capitalistpropaganda.us. Also, these are hilarious. If you don't have any of these, you need to get a grip of them. I did that. President Joe Biden looking at the gas thing, the gas gauge. We did it, Joe. Gas prices higher than Hunter Biden. And of course, we always favorite Miss Me Yet from former President Donald Trump. So head over to Capitalist Propaganda. Get all of the gear that you need to tell your friends that their socialist ideas totally suck at capitalistpropaganda.us. Before we talk about Australia, this was a really funny story that I was noted on by my cousin earlier in the week. Didn't have time to get to it, but this is a little bit lighthearted, maybe a little bit. It's a Friday. I want to have some sort of levity. Speaking of Washington, D.C. with Jen Psaki, this happened last week, but I thought it was super interesting. The Capitol police officer that shot and killed the woman inside the Capitol in January went public. Why? I have no idea. Nobody was asking for this guy to come out. Actually, we got a picture right here. Nobody was asking for this guy to come out and start talking about his situation, but nevertheless, he did. I have no idea what advantage he gains by being out and public about whatever. But he's always making the rounds, doing a couple interviews. We'd all obviously kind of moved on since we found out in April that he wasn't going to be charged with anything. Nobody knew his name. But again, last Thursday, he decided to go public. For what reason? I have no idea. This from CNN. The veteran Capitol Police officer who killed Ashley Babbitt in the Capitol went public last Thursday, revealing his identity and defending his actions. This guy is named Lieutenant Michael Byrd. I know that day I saved countless lives. I know members of Congress as well as my fellow officers and staff were in jeopardy and in serious danger, and that's my job. That's a lot. There's a lot loaded in there. Did he save a ton of lives? Again, Ashley Babbitt, the woman in the Capitol, was the only person to be killed at the Capitol that day. The officer fatally shot Babbitt in the shoulder while she was climbing through a window that led into the speaker's lobby adjacent to the House chamber while lawmakers were evacuating. This is really questionable. I don't want to get into it because I'm not going to know any more information at this point in time than the Capitol Police, who decided to not charge this guy with anything. Maybe it was totally justified. Maybe it wasn't. From the video, that seems pretty questionable. That's all I'm going to say about that. But here's the interesting thing. Well, let me read a little bit more. Actually, no. Here's the interesting thing. This is an article from 2019 which featured the same officer, entitled "Capitol Police Weapon Left Unattended in Capitol Bathroom Again." Remember, this guy, Lieutenant Michael Byrd, who we didn't know anything about, or at least we didn't know his name until last week. He decided to come out. For what reason, I have no idea. But that led back to this article in 2019, again titled "Capitol Police Weapon Left Unattended in Capitol Bathroom Again." This is from Roll Call. After the House adjourned on Monday, this is again in 2019, Lieutenant Mike Byrd left his Glock 22 in a bathroom in the Capitol Visitor Center complex, according to sources familiar with the incident. Byrd is the commander of the House Chamber section of the Capitol Police and was on the job Tuesday and Wednesday. I don't know. This is just weird. The only person to fire a shot in the Capitol incident on January 6th, also 2 years ago, left his Glock 22 in the Visitor Center complex bathroom of the Capitol, which seems like it would be a big problem. I don't know if you've ever been to the Capitol or been to the halls of Congress, the Longworth building, all of the buildings that house Congress members. But you have to be screened to get into the building. Obviously, they check for weapons. You can't carry a handgun around Washington, D.C. as a whole legally. Of course, people do all the time, but legally you can't. But you can't take a weapon into any of these facilities. Yet, this officer left his Glock in a Capitol bathroom, just laying there. What happens if the wrong person stumbles upon that? I would imagine that would incur some pretty harsh punishment. Byrd addressed the incident at Tuesday morning's officer roll call. According to the sources, told officers that he will be treated differently because of his rank as lieutenant. It was not clear what exactly the lieutenant meant by that comment. I don't know. Just interesting. We have no idea who this guy is, and then all of a sudden he decides to come out, be in front of the cameras, which I guess is noble, but again, nobody is really asking for him to do that. Then we can tie it back to this article that came out in 2019 where this dude left his gun in the bathroom. I don't know if it means anything, but maybe you fail up in every position in Washington, D.C. I don't know. Maybe he's the best officer you could see in D.C. But also, I don't know that a person at that level would leave their gun in the bathroom in the Capitol, where you can't take any guns whatsoever. I want to transition to Australia. This is not as, I don't know if that was funny, but this is not funny at all either. This is Australia in their lockdown phase. Listen to this video clip from the news in Australia.
Hitting the accelerator, Kochie Daniel Andrews says vaccination is the only way out. Nat, Victoria's lockdown is being extended. In a shift in policy, the state is now vaccinating its way to freedom. But playgrounds will reopen tomorrow for under 12s and just one parent, and they have to check in. Schools are staying shut for term 3. There'll be a slight easing of restrictions when 70% of adults have had one dose in 3 weeks' time. The 5-kilometre travel bubble will increase to 10 for essential shopping and exercise only. Outside exercise will be allowed for 3 hours a day.
This is crazy what's going on in Australia. The number of cases increased by like 100. 25 million people on the island nation of Australia, but they locked down everything. The minimum, the amount that you can go away from your home is 5 kilometers. 10 kilometers is getting your freedom back a little bit. Vaccinating their way to freedom. Holy cow, man. What happened to Australia? I was talking to my wife yesterday. I'd always pictured Australia as your Steve Irwins, your Crocodile Dundees, your rough and tumble big people that weren't afraid of massive spiders that they have there, or all of the other wildlife that is solely on the island of Australia. Just tough, gritty people. At least that's what I thought. What happened? They're just okay with being locked down entirely? We're going to hear a somewhat comedic, but also possibly maybe less comedic and maybe more serious, maybe a Babylon Bee situation here where it's meant as comedy, but is kind of true. From let me see what this lady's title is. Gladys, I don't even want to try to pronounce her last name, serving as the 45th current Premier of New South Wales. Let's listen to this from Australia. Again, this is a joke, but also maybe kind of serious.
I'm a bit tired of hearing people saying, I don't know how to do my job properly. That's not acceptable. I hope everybody likes staying at home because we are going to go into lockdown forever. Nobody from New South Wales is going anywhere. We will have 2 million police officers standing at the corner of every street to monitor every single citizen. We're really watching very closely. I hope this really will be devastating. We don't like to be heavy-handed, but what we need to say today now is that if you leave home, we will give you a death sentence. Please know that you will be shot in the face, and I hope it's painful. You are required to obey what we say when we say it, and if you don't, you can prepare to die. I've said from the outset, I don't care about your life and the life of those around you. I don't really give a shit. The government is now about to announce what we call the final solution. We are inspired by history and realise we can very easily permanently get rid of anybody thinking illegal thoughts. Follow the rules or else you'll never be seen again. If you think you can live freely under our very strict and harsh regime, I have news for you. If you even consider breaking the rules, I will personally stab you in the head and rip your guts out. We have 24 hours surveillance of every single person in the community. We want to cause anguish, hurt and suffering to as many citizens as possible. Every day at 11 o'clock, every citizen in this state must listen to me. This is the Fourth Reich, and I will make sure that I never, ever, ever give up power to the
That was a little bit long. Sorry about that. But that is one of the leaders in New South Wales, Australia. They've just been locking down like crazy. For some reason, people in Australia haven't opened their eyes to the idea that, look, COVID's just here. The Chinese Communist Party let this thing out into the world, and we just have to deal with it now. You got countries like Singapore that have that mentality. The UK even has that mentality. Everybody's just sick of it. The idea that Australians are allowing themselves to be locked down is really weird. Maybe this is related, maybe this isn't. Remember a couple years ago, Australia gave up all of their guns. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. Now, of course, there's going to be people saying, well, you can't take on the military with just household guns. You're right, you can't. But if the military had to fight back, it would look so bad and the optics would be so terrible that they wouldn't be able to continue doing it with anybody's support, which is why you would have a gun in the first place if the government became too out of control. But again, Australia is like, I don't know. I always thought of them like tough, gritty people who were not going to take anything from anybody. But apparently they'll just roll over constantly. This is a clip from Justin Trudeau. The Prime Minister of America's Hat, Canada. This is really worrisome, what he said.
We learned from this climate, this COVID
power to the
sorry. Here it is. Justin Trudeau.
What we learned from this climate, this COVID crisis, we will be applying to the climate crisis, to the housing crisis, to reconciliation, to making sure that everyone has good jobs and careers that carry them through and create opportunities for their kids.
That's super worrisome. We're going to take what we learned from the COVID crisis, which what I think the government learned is, holy cow, people just submit willy-nilly to anything we do. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of America's Hat, Canada, basically saying they're going to use the same tactics they used during COVID to combat climate, which is a highly debatable, very interesting topic, to combat all of the other crises. This is what everybody's been worried about. If you call something a crisis and people comply, who's to say what's not a crisis? Seriously, what if in your household you declare something a crisis in which you have to go, I don't know, eat pizza? Let's just say you and your wife have an agreement that if we have a crisis, we have to eat pizza for dinner. That's just what we have to do. And somehow you get your wife on board. Guess what? Babe, the ice, we have less ice cubes in the freezer than I thought. This is a crisis. We need pizza for dinner. Lo and behold, you're going to make up crises all the time to continue doing whatever you're doing. It's exactly what Justin Trudeau is saying is going to happen in Canada. So maybe all of you people that have been accused of being conspiracy theorists have something there. I want to talk about Larry Elder and my Larry Elder story. We're running a little bit long, but I like Larry. Known Larry for a long time. Larry Elder, again, is running for governor in California against King Newsom, Gavin Newsom. There's a report yesterday that had election officials are now worried about voter fraud in California. Oh! Is it maybe because California sends ballots to literally everybody, doesn't purge the voter rolls, so people who have been dead for years are still getting ballots? People who moved across the country are still getting ballots. I know people who, be careful how I say this. I know people who not only aren't registered, well, they are registered, I guess, who shouldn't be registered, who may or may not be here on a legal status, who get to vote in California. So yeah, maybe people are super worried about voter fraud. I heard a funny joke that I can't take credit for, but heard a funny joke. Like I said, I'm going to vote 5 times to stem off voter fraud in California, which is funny. So I'm going to vote 5 times to combat voter fraud in California. I think that's just funny. But anyways, I want to tell a Larry Elder story. Larry Elder, again, guy running for California governor against King Gavin. This is an event that, so I want to preface a lot of things going on here. When you're in politics, you do events all the time. You go to events, you speak at dinners, you speak at all. There are so many things going on. It is, especially at the lower level, the president doesn't have this ability to dismiss this sort of thing. But people at the lower level or at the local level go to these events all the time. You have no idea who's speaking at the events. You have no idea what the event is. You were invited to speak, you go speak. And if you're there and they ask you to sit on a panel, yeah, sure. I don't know who else is on the panel. Sometimes you get put in situations where people are on this panel that you don't necessarily like or want to be on that panel. but you're up there and you don't really know who else is there and what's going on. This is the situation that happened to the guy on the very, what are you looking at? Right side of your screen is a guy named Travis Allen, who I ran for governor in 2018 against King Gavin. And of course, next to him is Larry Elder. And next to them is a guy that we didn't know who he was, but after we found out, we were like, oh yeah, I'm glad we left. I'm going to pull up a picture of this guy, not in a suit. It is him, Stickman. If you remember the Berkeley riots, whenever Milo Yiannopoulos would speak or Ben Shapiro would speak, Antifa, the make-believe Antifa, according to Joe Biden, would show up and cause havoc. And the police didn't do anything about it, so you had people like this guy showing up with bats. He was called Stickman. Was an internet thing for a while. Anyways, we had no idea that this guy, who he was, what he looked like. I had heard of Stickman vaguely. But you're at an event, you're speaking, you get asked to sit on a panel. Okay, I don't know. That's fine. Larry and my client Travis got asked to sit on this panel. All of a sudden, this guy starts talking. Larry realized something when he started talking. And what Larry realized was, I shouldn't be up on this panel. And you'll see what happened, and I'll explain this as the video goes.
Not an immigrant. I am an American. I am a native of this country, and my ancestors' blood is the reason why this country is free. And I think we put way too much emphasis on immigrants.
So Larry Elder and Travis are sitting here listening to this guy going, this guy is kind of nuts. I don't know if I should be here with him. And by the way, in the room, there's like 10 people cheering, and the rest of the crowd is like, what is this guy saying? So nobody's on this guy's side. I didn't clip it out, but he's yelling at the audience in some of these clips of like, why aren't you on my side? Well, because you're a crazy person, dude. This guy's nuts. So look what Larry Elder does.
Proud American nationalist.
Okay, Larry, it's good seeing you. Okay, please do.
So Larry realizes what's happening and just leaves. So he gets off the stage and he leaves. And the event organizers, oh, hey, Larry, where are you going? Oh, he says, I'm sorry, I got to use the restroom. And then he walks down the hall to where I'm standing. I'm not really paying attention at this point. I see Larry coming down. I think, he's been on stage. I say, hey, what's going on? He looks at me. He's like, you got to get your guy off the stage. There's a crazy person up there, and we don't want to be associated with him. And he was right. So Larry, and I've told when I've mentioned this story to him years later, said, like, you did the funniest thing I've ever seen. Realized that guy was not somebody who you wanted to be associated with. You said, I have to go to the bathroom, and then went to the bathroom at your own house. Which is, again, super smart. And I wasn't thinking at the time. I wasn't really paying attention. There's a lot of stuff going on at this sort of thing. So I didn't think to get my guy down. So then this guy continues to go on constantly talking about stuff that we don't like.
My opinion is we need to eliminate all immigration for the next 10 years. Who agrees with me on that?
My client Travis is sitting there like, this guy's insane. So if you see in the corner, you don't see me.
We do not need any more immigration.
But I come up to Travis and say, dude, we got to go. This guy's nuts. We don't want to be here. We don't want to be associated with him. He's an insane person. Larry already bounced. So we got to go.
This country, excuse me, miss. You asked me a question. I'm answering it. Where?
People are arguing with him right now. And I'm now coming up to the side of Travis saying, we got to go, dude. Let's get out of here. Because this guy, again, we got asked to be put on a panel with this insane person who we don't agree with, talking about banning immigration. Screw that guy. That guy's dumb. He's so far to the side that he gives a bad name to conservatives. Larry Elder realized that very early on and said, you know what? I'm going to go home. You guys, good luck. And it took us several minutes after Larry left and said, you got to get your guy off the stage, that I was finally like, oh, yeah, let's go, dude. We got to get out of here. Anyways, that's probably my favorite Larry Elder story. There's a lot that it kind of happened over the years. I was super excited that I found this video. I hope nobody catches any flack for playing this thing. But again, funniest story that I've ever seen a politician do. Oh, I've got to use the bathroom, and then Larry just goes home. Love it. The intuition in the gut that guy has is pretty fascinating. But anyways, that'll take the place of meme time today. That's going to do it for us this week. Have a great weekend, Labor Day weekend. I haven't decided if we're going to do a show on Monday or not. We'll see. But if not, we'll see you early next week to talk about all of the crazy things that are probably going to happen over the weekend, which hopefully aren't too crazy. But if you haven't got a chance, go check out my show Quality Control over on Daily Caller. We did an episode on King Gavin last week. This week, we're talking about the really sexy topic of semiconductors, which is actually fascinating. So you should check that out too over on Daily Caller, called Quality Control. Got a couple other announcements, hopefully involving Daily Caller pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. But again, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for watching the Jobob Show. God bless America.